Petersburg. I'd like to welcome the good senators and look forward to what you have to say to us today. Good senators, the floor is yours. We look forward to what you have to say.
Uh-oh. Is this mic working? I'm working at it. All right. First of all, thank you very much for welcoming us here today. And before I make a mistake, I want to introduce my wife, Susie, to you right here. Please welcome Susie. I want to talk to you, I want to title my remarks today, Congress Should Take a Lead from Idaho. And I brought me a few statistics, so please forgive me with that, but Idaho's doing it right. You guys know that. But let me just kind of give you the data. Idaho's fell by 1.4 points from 3.8% over the past year. Total unemployment in net new jobs over the past year. And as Governor Little indicated in his State of the State and budget address, Idaho's economy is stronger than ever before. We are one of only 4 states with more jobs today than before the pandemic. Idahoans are working. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates, as I just indicated. Our budget is balanced. And again, thanks to your good hard work, we have robust reserves. You may not know all of these statistics. You probably know a lot of them. In the ranking and the analyses that goes on around the country, Idaho consistently tops the states in national analysis for being the least regulated state, the most, or not the most, but one of the most credit-worthy states. You know this, we are consistently ranked as one of the best places to live in America, one of the best states to start a business, and this is one you might not have known, but we are among the happiest states in the United States. That's because of the way we govern here in Idaho. So let me turn to the comparison and why I title my remarks that Congress should take a lead from you. You all know that we've been battling spending and taxing in Washington, D.C. for the last year and a half. The result of the spending that has happened, the phenomenal spending that has happened, is massive inflation. We've had around $2 trillion of new debt-financed money put into our economy. We've fortunately, and this number may astound you, we have fortunately succeeded in stopping around $7 trillion additional dollars from being spent. You're all aware of the battles over the BBB, the so-called Build Back Better bill, which is really the Build Back Worse bill. That bill was claimed to be a $3.5 trillion bill. It was analyzed by experts to be closer to a $4.5 to $5 trillion bill. Fortunately, it's been stopped. But the battle is not over. Now the effort is to try to break it into smaller pieces and see if chunks of it can be passed and put into law. In other words, put more fuel on the inflationary fire. So let me talk about inflation for just a minute. Some more statistics. Our January Consumer Price Index, year over year, shows a 7.5% increase, a 7.5% inflation rate. And to give you some perspective, that is the highest inflation rate we have had for over 40 years. Our Producer Price Index was 9. That index didn't start 40 years ago, but that's the highest growth in the Producer Price Index that has ever happened since they started being slammed by this kind of high spending in the country. Let me give you just a few more detailed statistics. In January of this year, compared to January a year ago, we have seen families have to spend nearly a couple of details there. And by the way, these are for the Western region, which has been hit $1.79 for a loaf of bread more, $3.98 more for exactly the price is not more, but $1.79 for a loaf of bread, $3.98 for a gallon of milk. Energy costs skyrocketed to 27%. The price of gas exploded by 40%. Family electricity bills are up by 11%. The gas to keep your stove running in your home, 24%. A new car, 12%. And this one is really interesting. A used car, up 40%. Buying clothes, 5%. Rent, 4.5%. And this has been analyzed also. Penn Horton has done an analysis that the average family in America now spends $3,500 a year more to buy the same consumption that they did a year ago. Moody Analytics put it on a monthly basis. They analyze it that it's $276 a month more just to engage in the same spending that you did a year ago. So as we've been battling over these spending issues in Washington and seeing this inflation come, what has been the response? In Washington, Congress is trying to double down. I told you we stopped the BBB and the other spending bills. Now the effort is to break them into pieces and just keep pouring the spending on top and add to that the taxes that so far we have stopped. The exact wrong approach and social issues in America. I just want to take a minute and talk to you about the fact, though, that while we're fighting all of these spending bills, and you were all aware of what I just said, there have been a number of other proposals that are trying to move through the Senate and the House that didn't get much attention because all the oxygen was sucked out of the room with regard to the spending battles we've been having. But you all do know that we just had a battle where the effort was to try to take over, to end the filibuster in the United States Senate. We won that fight, fortunately, or here's what would have followed. These are the issues that did not get top-line focus. The actual filibuster fight was over the first proposal, which was a federal takeover of our election system. As you all know, the Constitution of the United States says that states control their own elections. This bill would have put mandates on the states to prohibit or significantly restrict voter ID requirements for mail-in ballots, to mandate that there be drop boxes that are essentially unsupervised, and that you could not require that the people who fill the drop boxes even be the people who are the ballots, casting the ballots that are being put into the drop box, significantly enhancing the potential for ballot harvesting. And the list goes on. In addition to that, and you might think that I'm just overstating this, but I'm not. These were bills ready to go. The following bills that would roll if the filibuster is on the Supreme Court, statehood for the District of Columbia, putting into statute the open border policies that the president is currently enforcing through executive order, and that list goes on. This is the kind of battle that we're having in Washington, D.C. Another one that's sort of slightly below the radar, but I think most Americans are aware of it. As you know, I'm the ranking member of the Finance Committee, which has jurisdiction over not only our Medicare and Medicaid and healthcare system, but over our tax code. There were proposals to hire a literally $80 billion new army of auditors at the IRS, and to allow those auditors to have the ability to get into your bank account if you made or spent more than $600 in a year. Now, it's true that they said when we pushed them on that, well, we'll move that up to $10,000. Okay, so if you made or spent more than $10,000. By the way, the average American family spends around $20,000 to $24,000. So the point is that they were trying to open up the IRS access to our bank accounts. We won that one. We beat that one. And we beat it both in terms of knocking off the massive billions of dollars that were going to be put into creating a new army of auditors, but also the access to the bank accounts. So the next one that came up, which you probably read about, was the requirement that taxpayers, in order to engage with the IRS on their tax returns, had to provide them a selfie on their own cell phone, so that your cell phone could be captured and tracked, and so that your biometrics could be analyzed and and basically monitored in terms of your engagement. We won that one too, and they've backed off. So now they're saying, well, we're going to impose, we don't know what the next one is. We know that they're looking at another way. And by the way, the IRS does need to have identification of who they're dealing with, but many other private sector entities are able to do it without these kinds of draconian measures. And so we don't know what's coming next. But the point is, the IRS has a very intent desire to get into much more close monitoring of Americans. And that is what I consider to be an extremely dangerous trend. I could go on and on. The point is, Congress should take a lead from Idaho. You're the reason that I could give all those great statistics about Idaho, because of the policy and the leadership, Republican and Democrat, in the state of Idaho, that knows the right kind of policies by which we should govern. And frankly, it's the common sense of the people of Idaho. And it is such an honor to represent the people. Report on such an incredible battle that we are having on one front after another there. But I want to thank you all for your support. I've received support from you and from people all over Idaho for this. I'm going to stop now and just make one quick comment about my colleague, Senator Risch. You've all heard us talk like this before. Senator Risch and I are best friends, and we were really good friends before we were both senators. And that is an envy. Our colleagues envy the relationship we have. We talk together over every vote before we cast it. Now, I'll admit that we don't actually confer when it's naming a courthouse or something like that. But every vote of significance, we confer. And we also, 99% of the time or more, cast 2 votes from Idaho for or against the various matters that are under consideration, but that are consistent with Idaho's common sense. And it's an honor for me to serve in the Senate with my very good friend, Senator Jim Risch. And so I will now let our speaker introduce him. We'll turn it over.
Thank you. Well, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that. That door swings both ways. Mike and I do have a great relationship, and it is the envy of our colleagues up there. We love teasing them too about when we were going through the COVID situation, and all those states were having issues financially, and Mike and I said, we don't understand the problem here. We got a surplus at home. What are you guys talking about? And they shake their head. They couldn't understand how it could be. I said, well, if you knew the kind of people that ran Idaho, you'd understand why we do have the surplus, or we do have the surplus that we have. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed coming up here. I'm sorry we missed it last year. I spent 28 years in that room across the rotunda in one fashion or another, and would come over here occasionally when they let me in. And when I come to the Capitol, I always go downstairs and look, or up here, wherever they are, and look at the pictures of the prior legislatures. My first year was 1975. And I look at that picture now, the 35 of us senators. There's only 4 of us that are still alive that were in that picture. So, you look at that and you think, a lot of time has passed since then. Kids grew up here, and so it's very nostalgic. It really is. Life is very different back there than it is here. People complain about things up here. Believe me, the Idaho legislature runs like a fine-tuned Swiss watch compared to what Mike and I have to deal with back there. And it's we tell people, you know, if you took the 105 legislators from Idaho, Republicans, Democrats, put them back there and put them in, they'd straighten this thing out pretty quickly. But such is not the case back there. There's a wide diversity of views. I'm always so glad to get off the airplane and put feet back on Idaho soil. One of my regrets is that everybody can't stand in our shoes just for 24 hours or 48 hours. You would truly appreciate what we have here in Idaho a lot more than we do. We take this place for granted, but believe me, it's not like that all over the country. Mike's indicated the spending fights that we're having right now, and when the election happened last time, they started out with a vision. They believed that the other side believed that they had a mandate. Now, I don't know if a tie in the Senate and a 5-vote margin in a 435-vote House is considered a mandate, but they did. And they truly started out to spend $10 trillion to try to change America. And that $10 trillion was going to be social spending. And fortunately, we've been able to stop that to a very, very large degree. I think things are going to change this November. I believe America is still a center-right country. I think we're going to prove it again this coming November. We'll see. That's why we have elections in America. But in any event, this country needs to figure out where it's going. We've been at it for the last couple of decades, butting heads. Do we want to be what the Founding Fathers gave us, and that is a free, a truly free capitalist, free market, free enterprise system? Or do we want some brand of socialism that's a modified brand of socialism, much like our European cousins have? Which do we want? And I think that the country, and to become less polarized than we are, the country's going to have to figure this out. And not by a 45, 55, but back like it was when I grew up, and that was that we knew who we were. We knew what the Founding Fathers gave us. We wanted to protect that. Now people want to change that to a more socialistic form of government. And obviously this is America, and Americans can take it wherever they want. And we need to keep having the debates to get us where we want to go. I'm going to close here. I know I used to sit back there and think, you know, these yahoos from D.C. come back and they talk, and we got work to do here. And I know how important your work is. But I'm ranking member on foreign relations, so Ukraine's been much on my mind, and I should say a little something about that. You know, Ronald Reagan took the presidency in 1980. When he took the presidency, the issue in the world, on the globe, was the USSR. It was a very malign country, hasn't changed much. But at that time, it also had full control over a number of other sovereign countries. Ronald Reagan spent 8 years trying to pull that apart, and he succeeded. As he left office, the USSR crumbled. Each of those countries got to be sovereign states and decide which way they wanted to go. A number of them rushed to the west, quickly joined the EU or joined NATO or both, and we're happy. We were happy to have them. The Ukraine was one that wanted to do that, but they couldn't check the boxes that needed to be checked if they were going to get into either the EU or NATO. So they don't have the NATO protection that we 30 countries have, Canada, the United States, and then the European countries, where we came together and have a constitution. It's the NATO Charter, and it has Article 5, which says an attack on one is an attack on all. The Ukraine, had they gotten in, of course, Putin wouldn't be able to be doing what he is doing there. But remember, Ronald Reagan did this without firing a shot. And that's the position we're in. We do not have the Article 5 obligation to defend the Ukraine. We've obviously sent them a lot of defensive weapons, and we'll continue to do that. Americans are not going to fight on the ground over there. There's not going to be any American boots on the ground in the Ukraine. But we do have some tools in the toolbox that have been very successful for us, and those are the sanction tools. And the president has already unveiled some of those. Frankly, I don't think they're robust enough. We're going to have a good discussion of that when we go back there. I think if he continues, he took a bite Putin took a bite in 2014 and took the Crimea. He kind of thinks that he's going to get to regions that he's now taken, the Donbass region, are going to cause him a lot more troubles. If he continues to go into the Ukraine, he's going to have real problems on his hands financially, because partisan agreement back there as to in a shot, but we do have very significant tools in our toolbox that we can use. I've rambled on long enough. God bless you all. Thank you for what you do. It's so good to be with people who actually govern, you know, and I wish everybody had back there had the background that we have to know you as Idahoans, how you come together and get this done, debate things, and run this state as conservatively and as efficiently as you do. God bless you what you do. Thank you for having us here. Thank you for the support you give us back in Washington, D.C. God bless you all.
Good job. Senators, we really appreciate the jobs you're doing there, and we like that you work together. That's a good thing. The only encouragement I have is do the best you can to keep those yahoos in charge from doing any more damage. With that, will the good gentleman from 22 please come up and escort our good senators?
Notice the empty seats. And here they come back in after they leave. Is that a protest? They're Republicans.